Always great catching up with my next guest, Maycee Barber, who we haven't seen in a bit. She's still recovering from that knee injury. Maycee, how are you on this Monday?
I'm doing great, James. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's good to catch up with you. The last time we spoke, I believe, was back in April. I see you're back in the gym now. How's recovery gone since the last time we spoke? It's been a couple months.
Oh man, it's been a roller coaster. I knew that I've said that even before when I was struggling and had a lot more pain. But it's been up and down. But I mean, like the last 2-3 months, I've been training a lot more. Like I've trained twice today already. I trained and hit pads, and then I got to go for a run, and then I might train again tonight. So instead of just like slowly easing back, I'm on to like running and training and doing like multiple sessions a day. So it's been really good. And I'm just ready to finally get cleared in the next like month or so.
Excellent. Now, when were you actually able to get back to like you mentioned the 2 to 3 months? Was that when you were actually able to get back into like, regular training, or are you still not at that point yet?
No, honestly, the only thing that I'm not doing is going live. So like live sparring rounds and stuff. And then also like drilling around multiple groups of people, because like, like the unknown and like unexpected side hit to the knee or low kick that you don't get to check or you're too late for. It's not that my knee can't take it. It's just that why would we put it through that? So we're kind of just waiting on that part. And still being a little bit more cautious until like the time is at okay, your leg's at 100%. But I started training, I believe it was like 4 months from surgery, okay. Which is not completely normal, but I'm 6 months, I think, 7 now. Yeah. 6 or 7 months now from when I had surgery. So like around this time, my physical therapists were like, around this time, usually like the average person would be going back to like working out 1 time a day. For elite athletes, like we can't necessarily do that, or we choose not to do that. So we start training a lot sooner and a lot more, but it's just got to be careful.
Would you say things are on schedule, or are they ahead of schedule? Like what's sort of your timeline from what you were initially told when you first suffered the injury?
When I first had surgery and had to go through PT and everything, they said it would be exactly 1 year until they would say that I could take a fight. So, I mean, I think it's like, to me, it has seemed to go by really fast, especially with the whole COVID and everything happening. But at the same time, like I'm at the point now where I'm like, can it just be there? Like it feels like it's taking forever, but it also feels really close. As far as like track wise, I think I'm like right on track. I'm a little bit faster probably just as like an athlete. I'm sure most athletes are pretty quick to come back. But at the same time, for us athletes, it also feels like an eternity when you're out.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. Well, there's been a lot going on in all types of divisions right now. We just had a UFC card on the weekend at the time of recording this. The main event was a great fight between Michelle Waterson and Angela Hill. A lot of people have different scorecards on this one. What did you think of the fight? How did you score it? Because some people felt like Hill might have should have got the nod there, but I thought it was a close fight. Could have gone either way.
I had the first 2 rounds. I had it 2-2, which I know a lot of people did. The last round, same thing. It was a really close fight for sure. It was fun to watch. Like at first I didn't think, and I didn't want it to go to the distance, but just to see, I mean, Angela Hill has evolved so much, and she continues to evolve. I mean, she's trained and fought so many times in the last, I think it's like since 2017, she's had more fights than any other fighter. So, I mean, she's been super active, and you can see she's not just active and like just fighting and not getting better. Like she's continually getting better. So it was fun to watch her, and then Michelle, obviously, she's kind of digging down deep and trying to go for that mom champ. So, I mean, it was a really fun fight to watch. I think both fighters went out there, and you could tell they were both giving it everything they got, which is, from a fan perspective and from a fighter's perspective, I give them a ton of respect, because it's not, I don't think that every fighter necessarily goes out to do that. You see some fights where they're like just okay with, they're just okay with 1 round or whatever. Like these 2 girls were throwing and they were going at it. So it was fun to watch. I think it could have gone either way. I can see them giving Michelle the win, but I could also have seen them giving Angela the win. So I thought it was a great fight.
It certainly was. And then another good fight in your division that took place, Roxanne Modafferi, someone you fought last, taking on Andrea Lee, someone that I know you're familiar with because you and Andrea came from LFA. What did you think about that fight? Pretty close. Roxy ends up edging it out. Lee's now lost 3 straight fights. What did you think of the matchup?
You know, I thought it was a fitting matchup, obviously, just based off of like the rankings in the division. Mm-hmm. I was paying half attention to it, but at the time, I mean, you know, obviously I watched that fight and I get frustrated because I'm like, man, I want to go out there and fight. It just brings up, you know, obviously my fight. But you know, I thought that it was a pretty close fight as well. Like honestly, I thought it could have been a draw. If not, I thought Andrea.
Actually, there's an Angela Lee, so that's understandable.
Andrea, yeah, there's a lot of them. There's an Angela Lee too, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely thought that it would have gone the other way, but I could see Roxanne winning it. I was actually just talking to a friend that I noticed Roxanne always has this pattern. It's like she wins one, she loses one, she wins one, she loses one, and it's crazy, but she still keeps going. So good for her, and I'm sure Andrea will come back.
I know you didn't pay too close attention to the fight like you were saying, but I'm sure there was parts of it where you're watching and just sort of referencing back to your fight with her, where I'm sure there's things you're like, I wish I would have done this or whatever. I mean, obviously the injury played a role in it, but you know, was that going through your head as you're watching that fight, or did you even, you know, what was sort of going through your head as you were watching it?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely saw things. I'm like, in my mind, it's hard to answer because like I never once, like when I was watching that fight, I wasn't like, how did I lose to this? Like It wasn't like that because I'm like, I knew that I had an injury. But when I was watching her, you know, you pick people apart. Anytime I watch a fight, I always like pick it apart. I'm like, oh man, this is what they're doing. This is what they're doing. This is what she should be doing. And I just felt like Roxanne, in my opinion, when Andrea was going back and forth, Andrea moves a lot, but then when she goes to throw, she stops moving. And so, like, I feel like she moves a lot, and then Roxanne just has it to where anytime Andrea stopped moving, she would just hit her. And it's definitely one of those where you're like, man, like you start fidgeting around. You're like, that should be me in there. I want to go back. I should have been doing that. But it's really hard to speak on that fight specifically just because of, like, when I think about my fight and my loss, it's like all I can, like, picture is my knee. And then just picture being in a hospital bed. So it's just a little weird.
Have you gone back and watched your fight yet, or is that still not something you're ready to do?
I have actually several times. Yeah, I've watched it back, and I'm still proud of my performance. You know, it's one of those fights where it's like I do pick myself apart, but like I pick myself apart more in my wins than I do in my loss. Like, so fights that I go back and watch that I won, I'm like, why did you do that? Like I can be a lot harder on myself on those fights. Like I'll watch them right now and I'll just pick it apart and I'll laugh at myself. But in this last fight, when I watch it, I'm like, I know why you didn't do that. I know why you didn't do that. Like I can't question myself because I knew what I wanted to do and I just knew that I couldn't do it. So it's hard to watch and like nitpick.
Now we have another UFC card coming up this weekend. Your teammate's fighting Gerald Meerschaert. Now I don't know if you know this, Maycee, but Gerald's the biggest underdog on the card. He's fighting a guy in this Chimaev, Khamzat Chimaev, who's, you know, they're saying is the next Khabib. He's won 2 of his fights impressively. He actually has another fight booked after Gerald against Damian Maia. What do you think about that? Because Gerald's a pretty seasoned veteran and he's a huge underdog on this card.
To be honest, I mean, the first time that I saw Gerald and like have talked to him is like yesterday and today. I talked to him a little bit on like just texting back and forth on yesterday, and then today I saw him in the gym. But for me, like, so I haven't paid a ton of attention other than seeing it on social media. I'm always gonna support the guys that I've trained with and been behind. And I definitely think that like I can see the frustration and I can see that the issue of Gerald being like, how can you look past me, because I am, like, he trains hard, he works hard, he's good, he's solid all the way around. You know, he is a seasoned vet in the division. So I can definitely see like the frustration and I can feel it for him of, no, this is me. But at the same time, I feel like that's kind of when he goes out and if he wins, you know, he'll be able to be like, don't look past me next time. You know, like it's just, it'll just feel that much better, I think, when he wins, to be able to know like, okay, you thought you were gonna look past me, but then again, I've also looked past my opponents too. So I can see it on both sides. But I'm definitely on the side of the supporting of Gerald.
Okay, and then one more fight I wanted to mention, just because I know you're a fan of him. Cowboy Cerrone's fighting in the co-main event against Nico Price. I'm not sure how familiar you are with Price, but again, another situation where Cowboy's the underdog, and you know he's been fighting nothing but killers, so it should be a good fight in the co-main event. And did you even know that was on the card that he's fighting Nico Price?
I did. When it got announced, I think it was the last fight last weekend when I was watching the fights. I was like, no way! I didn't realize Cowboy was fighting. But I did. I texted him the other day, congratulating him on.
He's a dad again, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. But I was super excited to see that he's on the card. I'm not familiar with Nico Price, but if he's an underdog, I think I can see him being an underdog now on a lot of these fights, just because people think that, oh, he's getting older and, you know, these younger guys are coming up and they're just going to walk through him. I don't think that's the case because, again, just like Gerald, Cowboy is a very good fighter, and he's seasoned and he's hungry. You know, he has stated before that he wants to go after that title now. Whether that happens or not, I mean, he's still hungry and he's chasing after it. So I don't think that anybody should count him out on this fight as well either. In
your head right now, when do you think you'll be able to return? I know you have to get cleared first, but in your head, when are you thinking you're going to be taking your next fight?
Well, we have been talking about that. I would like to get cleared October. I have to get cleared like both strength-wise, mobility-wise, and then MRI. So that has to come first, and then, you know, I'll have a timeline. But I could see myself fighting maybe if we're pushing it end of December, but that would be putting me in a camp like now. But I'm not cleared. So I want to start a camp as soon as I get cleared, if that makes sense.
So probably early 2021, right, is what I'm thinking.
Yeah. Yeah. Plus, I mean, Wyatt, Wyatt's going to be making his, we're trying to hope for December. So trying to get him on one of those cards in Bellator. We were just talking about that earlier today. So he's going to be taking a fight, so it'd be good time-wise for me to be able to corner with him in December and then fight, you know, in January or February.
That was going to be my next question. How is Wyatt doing right now? Because I know he was used to training with you a lot. I know you were off for a bit. Now I imagine you guys are training together again because you were off with the injury.
Yeah, I was off with the injury. And then when I got back, you know, I started wrestling and I started striking. So we've been, and him and I, while like the whole quarantine was happening, we were holding pads for each other. I was in my brace still and I was like holding pads for him and he would hold pads for me. Not a lot, but just enough, you know, to get a little sweat. But he's doing good. He's training. They're actually out. My whole family is actually out in Colorado right now. I've been going back and forth because it's elk season. But he's getting ready. He's been training. And he's been doing really good. So, yeah.
What was your reaction when Paige VanZandt said that she was going and she's now signed with bare knuckle fighting? Because I think this threw a lot of people out of a loop just because of all things to do. You know, bare knuckle fighting where you're just using your fists, you know, seems like kind of a risk, but I don't know. What was your impression when you heard that?
Actually, I just talked to one of the coaches today. Scott Cushman asked me that. He's like, did you see that she's doing that? I was like, come on. I did see it. I don't feel like it's my place to tell people what they can and can't do or what they should and shouldn't do. I've seen little clips on Instagram of like her interviews, or someone sent me a clip, but I don't see a lot of her social media. So I kind of found out late just because she blocked me on Instagram a while ago when I was talking about her. So, I mean, for her, I mean, if that's what she wants to do, go for it. I know that she said that she doesn't mind getting cut up and, you know, getting bloody, and she can afford plastic surgery. So if that's what you want to do, go for it. But I don't know. To me, I don't like the bare knuckle boxing to begin with. Mm-hmm. I feel like it's very, for that reason, for the cosmetic reason. Like, I feel like you're not just going in there and getting hit with a blunt force trauma. It's less of that. It's more of the cosmetic damage. So I feel like you're going to have less fights. You won't be able to fight as frequently because if you get a cut, you have to wait for it to heal. And if you get multiple cuts, you have to wait for them to heal. So then I feel like your turnaround time is not as much. But I mean, if it pays good, it pays good. Take one fight and get out.
Well, that's just it. So let me ask you the hypothetical question. I mean, let's say your career's, over or whatever. I don't know. Let's say you decide that fighting isn't for you anymore. Is that something you'd ever consider, even if the money was good, or is that not something that would ever be on your radar?
I mean, if the money is good for anything, I've had people ask me, like, would you ever do WWE? Would you ever do bare knuckle boxing? I mean, everything is hypothetical, and everything is like, gosh, you could ask me to drive a race car. The money is right. Like, I'm not saying I'm going to take the title or win the championship, but I don't know. It's hard to say yes or no because, I'm not in this situation. I am hoping, and I'm planning on, working and going after this title and setting myself up in a way and living the right way so that I am able to not have to feel like, okay, now that my UFC career is over, now I have to go to bare knuckle boxing because I didn't make any money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like my platform, my career, I'm going to train and continue on my own journey and work and be successful in my own fighting career. And hopefully, hopefully I won't have to, the plan is to not ever have to work after that and not have to do something like that.
Right. Maycee, we went way over time. Thank you so much for catching up here. It's great to hear that the recovery is going well, and hopefully we will see you back in the cage. Like I said, maybe next year. We'll see when that does end up happening. But in the meantime, I know you got a lot of people helping you out, sponsors. I'm sure you got some social media to plug. Floor is yours. I always give you the last word.
Yeah, I definitely would like to take a moment. I know that I'll miss a few of them. But one person or one company in particular that I would love to give a lot of credit to is Long MacArthur. They're a dealership out in Salina, Kansas. And ever since my knee injury, I went out originally when I first got my truck, I went out and I actually bought it. And then I eventually got sponsored by them. And they wanted to partner with me. And ever since my surgery, even getting injured, they have taken such good care of me. They took my truck back and they were like, here, we're going to give you a smaller vehicle while you can't get in and out of your truck. And then after that, they gave me my truck back, but it was all wrapped. It had a nice wrap on it with Monster Energy and like all my sponsors. And they did an amazing job. They took great care of it. And now they hooked me up. They're actually going to sponsor Wyatt. They hooked me up with a new GT, the Mustang, and that is in transition while I'm waiting on the new Bronco. So I cannot say enough good things. I mean, all I've done is taking good care of me and keeping me in vehicles that are safe, and they're a great dealership to work with. They ship anywhere in the country. So for me, I like talk to a lot of fighters and they're like, hey, can you help me out? Can you connect me? So it's really been cool that like when people reach out to me, I can give them a direct contact to be able to, get a vehicle that can be sent anywhere, to them. So that's been huge. Trifecta in this quarantine and in this recovery phase, they've kept me fed with organic, fresh meals. So that's been important. Monster Energy, that has been a huge one for me because without them, this whole injury recovery, not being able to fight things may have been a little bit more difficult. So, I mean, they have all taken such great care of me. I have a ton more, but, got to save those for later. So any of the other ones, I keep posting on my Instagram. Toyo Tires, getting to winter, they're going to send me some more tires. So, all around, I mean, just a bunch of people keeping me healthy, safe, and my bills paid. So it's been great. And I appreciate all of them. On my Instagram, you'll be able to find all the other ones, but those are the big ones right now. Oh, I'm getting a new partnership. So I get to start working with Alien Gear and Tactica Defense. That is a concealed carry, like holsters and women's concealed carry for self-defense. So that's a new partner that I'm going to be working with along with Lex Gunworks for self-defense. So that's cool and super important to me. So I had to share that one too.